All right, so hello everyone. Welcome to your second now YEP meeting, and this is how they're going to look for the majority of the rest of the year, is split into Tuesday and Thursday. So you guys are the Thursday group, and so we got everyone here, and then we can't forget our awesome online members. So we have a bunch of different cameras going right now. So we got one all the way back there, you can see on top of the microwave for like a full room view. Then we have the one right here that I'm looking into for like the speaker view. And then there's a third one up there. All right, so we got one by Ava. So the online members, we got a bunch of you guys here. Thanks for coming. We have a whole big group of you guys today. And so today we got a lot of stuff planned. We have the awesome speaker, Mr. Templin back there, which you'll be hearing from him later. So, but to start off, we're just gonna go ahead and start with a game in true YEP fashion.
Hi guys, so today we're going to be playing rock, paper, scissors, which I know most of you probably know how to play, but we're going to start where you're going to be playing with who you're at your table with. If you're not with someone, you can wander around the room and find somebody. And then after that, you're just going to continue to wander around the room until, we have one person left. So to clarify, we're going to do rock, paper, scissors, shoot. So you go on shoot, not rock, paper, scissors. So, nobody's cheating. So we can start that now. So next up, we have our meeting norms.
All right, so what we're doing here is we're just doing some meeting norms. So kind of things to set some kind of rules, what we're going to do throughout the year so that we can respect everyone, not be going crazy, and we'll have an actual written down set of rules here. So what are meeting norms? Just like I said, standards of behavior, ground rules. You guys should be pros at this because you've been in school for a while, and that's kind of
my battery's dying.
the basic rules when you're in a group of people here. So, and the fun part is though, we're gonna let you guys come up with what we're doing. So if you have any idea that you think something that we shouldn't do or something that we should do here at YEP, raise your hand and yell it out. This goes for online members too. If you have any ideas what we could do for meeting norms, do's or don'ts of YEP basically, feel free to type it in the chat box for Ava. All right, those aren't too hard. Hopefully we'll be able to follow those well. All right, so next up, we have these amazing YEP folders that all of you guys received. So besides from being like a cool colors, I think the silver and black looks really good, and it's got your name on it, which I was like, wow, and the nice YEP logo. What's more important is what's inside. So like Ava said in the meeting norms, we always want to bring your YEP folder to all the YEP meetings, so it'll have your information inside that you need to get through the meeting, anything you might need to look up or know. So inside here we have the full schedule, the meeting schedule. We have and the grant guidelines. So when we start looking more at the grant stuff later on in the year, that'll kind of serve as a reminder of what the grants are supposed to be in the guidelines and what they're supposed to be asking for and how they work. Then we also have the 40 developmental assets, which if you don't know are basically a bunch of things that we want the grants to have. There are a bunch of different ways they help people or the community or something like that. And so basically the more of these 40 things on the list that the grant has or helps to fix, then it's better for the grant. And then obviously we want to see if we can fund that one over one that maybe doesn't have so many. Next, we also have like this little brochure thing right here in the green. That's kind of a basic overview of what YEP is. So you could be, I don't know, if someone's like, hey, what's this YEP thing? You just pull this out, kind of show them.
That meeting.
And then we also have this very important piece of paper with a little code on it. That's the pre-YEP survey. So we're gonna go over that more in a second, but basically you're gonna scan this, and it's very important so we can figure out kind of what you guys know about philanthropy and everything, and so we can gauge that versus the end of the year, see how much you guys learned and how well we've done our job at teaching you guys about the community and nonprofits. And then I'll close with, make sure to bring these because, yeah, it's part of being prepared and all that stuff. So next up is Ava with kind of going over the survey. That's very important that I just talked about.
So the pre-program survey that we want you guys to take right now has to do with things that went well in previous years and just some more information about YEP in general. And it's very, very, very important that you guys take this because last year at our end of the year survey, we didn't have that great of a turnout on people who participated in that, which is probably due to COVID, but that's okay. And moving forward, this survey is going to look a lot different. So if you're a returning member, this is going to be the same or very similar to the survey you guys took last year. But next year, for you guys who aren't seniors, it's going to look different for if you're a first-year member, second-year member, third-year member, and so on and so forth. And as you can see up there, we use this information to gauge success, learning, and outcomes of the YEP members, so we can see if we're doing a good job at teaching you guys. We share this with our donors so they can impact their donations. So if we, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, if we have to go on donor asks to people around the community to support YEP, we share this information with them to help let them know more about what YEP does as a program. And we use this to make improvements and add opportunities. So if you guys don't like something about YEP or wish something was a little different, please let us know so then we can change that and tweak it. And like we said earlier in our meeting norms, please be honest. Don't say what we want to hear. Give us the raw, the hard truth, So if you guys could take out your phones, my online people, Oliver just sent out the link. So please take that right now. And if you're having technical difficulties or you cannot get it, just let me know and I can help you. Thank you.
We have a very special guest joining us tonight, Mr. Templin in the back of the room. Dan Templin has served, yes, give him a round of applause. Dan Templin has served as the executive director of the DeKalb County Community Foundation. His role is leadership to ensure that the community foundation mission, vision, and the strategic priorities are fulfilled through the development and proper use of resources. He has worked at the foundation for over 15 years, which is how old I am, so that's a long time, and lives in Sycamore with his wife Crystal, daughter Erin, and son Luke Templin there in the back.
Yay, calling him out. All right.
All right.
Thank you, Oliver. Hi, everybody. Good evening online folks. I'm gonna turn this one off because I got a different mic on me. So welcome to YEP, and thanks for participating in YEP, especially if you're new and putting up with this kind of very unorthodox way to have YEP happen, but I think you're gonna enjoy the experience. So I wanna walk through what the kind of the background of why you're here and a little bit about understanding how the community foundation, which is the building you're in, operates, and kind of giving you some background. So let me get my presentation going here and then I'll share the screen. So here's what I want to talk about tonight with you all. So first of all, how many of you have never been in this building before doing YEP, before starting YEP? Quite a few of you, never been in this building before, right? So I want to tell you a little bit about, just to give you some context here. So this is the old Sycamore train depot. And this is a great example of the power of generosity and the power of people coming together in a community to get things done. So this building was built in 1880 as a operating train depot for Sycamore. And it operated as a depot for through about 1960. And then you can imagine highways and trucks and things like that were more common for people traveling by car, and trucks were running freight, so they didn't need freight cars and trains as much to do that. But when you think about the history of this building over time, and there's photos here in the room as well, it's pretty amazing to think about the thousands of people who came through this building and how active this building was as being used as an old depot. This is how rough things got. When you see some of the pictures here, like this one and the one over there, the building really got to be in pretty rough shape because it was just used for storage and warehousing. It wasn't really taken care of very well. So this is the picture of the freight room, the room you're in. This was the old freight room where they'd store materials that would come off of trains, and they'd load it back on, trains would take off. So the renovation of this building is kind of a neat story because Autometer, the manufacturing company next door, owned the building, but they donated it to the city of Sycamore in order to put it back into use, fix it up, save it, prevent it from being demolished, and put it back into use for the community. So private donors, and we're going to talk about philanthropy tonight, private donors who contributed money to help save this building and restore it and put it in the condition it's in now, made all this happen. Everything you see here, from how bad it was there to how fixed up it is now, was about $1.5 million. That's how much it cost to do all this. And it's all paid for. So that means it's not like we had to go borrow $1 million and we have to pay loans on that forever. It's all covered. People donated $1.5 million worth of contributions to be able to cover all these renovations. So pretty concrete story about the power of philanthropy, the power of people coming together to get things done. So I want to talk to you tonight about philanthropy and try to kind of define that and demystify that a bit for you. We're going to talk about what is a community foundation, what are community foundations, what's the DeKalb County Community Foundation specifically, what's our story, and then talk about YEP and how YEP got started and the history, some of the history of YEP. And then I want to do a little exercise about stewardship and talk about what that means, and kind of ending with talking about things that you're passionate about, encouraging you to cultivate your passion. So raise your hand. This goes for online people too. And I'm not able to see the online people as part of this, so I'll count on you, Ava, to give me some feedback. So for those of you in the room and remotely, raise your hand if you are a philanthropist. Drew, come on in. So no one, the exec committee raised their hand, no one else outside. Did anybody online raise their hand that has their camera on? Okay, so how would you describe philanthropists? What words come to mind when you think of a philanthropist? And this can go for online people too. Just put in the chat if a word or an image or an example comes to mind. Who do you think of when you think of philanthropists, or what do you think about? Yep. Money, okay. People who give money. Yep. Volunteering, great. What else? Other images that come to mind, words that come to mind when you think about that?
People that do good in their community.
People who do good in their community, awesome.
And somebody who donates their time/money.
Okay, people who donate time/money. So you guys already have a jump on a really good definition of philanthropy. But I'll tell you, most people and most adults, when they think about philanthropy, was there another one?
Yeah.
Generosity. Excellent. That's a good one. So when most people think about philanthropy and philanthropists, this is what they think of. Rich white people, and rich old white people, and rich dead people, right? So oftentimes there's this image that to be a philanthropist, you have to be mega wealthy, and most philanthropists are old Caucasian white people. But we all know that's not true. You know, there are lots of examples of people who practice philanthropy, and They use the money they have, whether it's great wealth or not, to be able to give to others or give to things that are important to them. So the definition of philanthropy is the giving of one's time, talent, or treasure for the sake of another or for the common good, voluntary action for public good, voluntary giving or service, primarily for the benefit of others. So when you think about philanthropy, and it comes from two Greek words, philos and anthropy. Philos means is a word for love, a Greek word for love. Anthropy is humankind or community. So people who love their community, who care about their community, and who give back to their community in various ways, that's philanthropy. So when you think about donating your time, your talent, maybe money that you have, allowance you have, you give money to church or to some organization, that is practicing philanthropy. So based on that definition, how many of you are philanthropists? Raise your hand if you're a philanthropist. So good, many more people raise their hands. So if you volunteered at church, you volunteered at a food pantry, you helped out another person with something that they had a need for, you're practicing philanthropy. So it's important to realize that philanthropy is not just something adults do, it's not something that just wealthy people do. Everybody can be a philanthropist when they're sharing the things that they have to benefit others because they care about others. So here's another kind of concept, a few more concepts I want to throw in and reiterating this, thinking about philanthropy as time, volunteering your time somewhere, talent, sharing skills that you have, maybe you're good at graphic design or putting a website together or setting up a Facebook page for some group of people. Treasure, obviously giving money and donating. And then we talk about a couple of other concepts that are a little more new to the definition of philanthropy. So one is ties. So ties are like your network, people you know. So if you're willing to share your network to help others, that's a form of philanthropy. So if I said, I really need somebody who is really good at music to help play for a fundraiser for an organization that I care about. Do you know anybody who's really good at music? And you might say, well, I'm not really that good, but I know somebody. I know this guy Drew who plays oboe, who's really good, and he might, be willing to help. And I'd say, well, can you connect me to Drew? And if you say, yeah, I'll send an email to Drew, I'll connect you to, and you can ask him and see, then you've shared a tie, right? Does that make sense? So sharing ties. Here's another one, is testimony. Testimony is about sharing your story and experiences while lifting up another person or an organization. So if you say, when our family was impacted by a fire and the Red Cross came and helped our family and they put us up in a hotel and they helped make sure we had food and shelter and all that, and that saved our life, that was an amazing experience. You're sharing your testimony to benefit Red Cross. You're telling an experience you had to be able to shine a light on somebody else or an organization. Okay, makes sense? So we have 5 T's here that can be part of defining what philanthropy is all about. So philanthropy is this very broad term, even though most people think of philanthropy as money and giving money, and that's largely what we're going to talk about here a little bit later. But just understand that as philanthropists, as youth philanthropists, youth engaged in philanthropy, you are philanthropists already, and you're going to be practicing that through this experience and through this program as well. So speaking of money and philanthropy is a big deal. So every year there's this Giving USA study that captures and studies how much money people give in the United States to charities. And charities include churches, they include nonprofit organizations of all kinds. So in 2019, almost $450 billion was given to various charities in the United States. So this is a big deal, right? I mean, people are generous in how they give. And what most people think of is, well, Bill and Melinda Gates and their foundation, they're big time, they're billionaires, they give all kinds of money. That's where all the real money lives. But look at this top category, 69% of that total comes from individuals, from you and I, from your families. So everyday people in the community, and yeah, some wealthy, some not as wealthy, but all of that money collectively really makes up the majority of giving in the United States. So philanthropy is very real and powerful and makes a difference and helps others through organizations. So let me pivot a little bit here and talk about, what are community foundations? So if we think about defining the term literally, what's community? It's really people connected by geography and to each other. And so sometimes a community can be an online community. It could be a community of people that have something in common, but it's still community. It's about pulling together, having an identity together. So what's a foundation? Literally, a foundation is like a platform, like foundation of a house, platform for growth. So community foundations you could think of as like a platform for building community and maintaining a strong, healthy community. So first of all, before I talk about community foundations and our foundation, I want to just underscore a point. And you're going to be hearing more about this, I think, next month, if I'm correct, Mark, about nonprofit organizations. Yep, Noah says yep. So you're going to learn more about what nonprofit organizations are all about. But just keep in mind for now, every organization in the United States falls into at least one of these categories. It's either a governmental entity, it's a private for-profit business, or it's a nonprofit. So there's basically three sectors in our society, and every organization you can think of falls into one of these sectors. So the school you go to, that's government, it's a public school, unless you go to like Cornerstone or like Aurora Christian, that's actually a nonprofit school. So it falls under that category. If you head out of here and stop at Culver's to grab some custard on the way home, you're stopping in a for-profit business, and that's an organization that's a for-profit, right? So we really focus heavily on nonprofit organizations through YEP and as a community foundation. So the community foundation, this organization that owns this building and we operate out of here, we are a nonprofit organization. So we fall in that one category. So people donate to us to benefit nonprofits in the community and other community organizations. So we actually give grants to some governmental entities too. Like we've given grants to fire departments and police departments. Sorry, Ollie, go ahead.
And Mr. Templin, since you work for a non-for-profit, do you still get paid?
Yes, yep.
You want to
So,
like that?
sure. And Ava, definitely interrupt me if anybody's got a question or something online. So nonprofit organizations still operate like a business. So we have a budget, we have money that we use to operate, we pay the bills, we pay the lights, electric and gas and everything, and we pay staff to do the work that we do as part of our organization. So just because you're a nonprofit doesn't mean you don't deal with money or operate with money. It means that as a nonprofit, we're mission-driven organizations. We're not profit-driven. So if I own a Culver's franchise down the street and I lose money every year, what's going to happen? Shout it out, anybody. Probably close, right? Because one of the primary goals of a business is to make money, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. For nonprofit organizations, our primary goal is to fulfill a mission. It's to have a purpose. So yes, we use resources to do that, but we're more mission driven. So we have a board, which I'll talk about in a bit, that oversees what we do, but they don't make money, they're volunteers. And the staff who work here make money as part of operating the organization. So when people donate to the foundation, they're really giving to the community through us. So we'll talk about that a little bit later too. So we manage funds, we work with donors, we give money out to the community as an organization. So many of you have probably never heard of a community foundation before YEP or before coming here, and that's not uncommon. You know, we're not necessarily as well known as things like United Way or other organizations. But the field has actually been around for over 100 years. We started in 1993, and there's over 900 community foundations in the United States. Some serve counties like we do, DeKalb County Community Foundation. Some are regional, some are serve a whole state. We're not formally connected to each other. We're all independent community foundations, but we share a common purpose and kind of a common structure and mission. So just to give testimony and to honor how we started at the DeKalb County Community Foundation, our roots actually start with the DeKalb County Agricultural Association. Everybody knows the DeKalb Ag. You recognize our year of corn here, right? So the DeKalb Ag was actually formed as a spinoff of the DeKalb County Soil Improvement Association. So does anybody know what the DeKalb County Soil Improvement Association is called now? Because it still exists, but it goes by a different name. Hang on, Oliver.
Okay, I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, I thought maybe you knew. Anybody else have a guess? Okay, Oliver, what's your guess?
Farm Bureau?
Exactly. So the DeKalb County Farm Bureau, corner of Bethany and Peace, that used to be called the DeKalb County Soil Improvement Association. The DeKalb Ag was a spinoff of that, a company that dealt with hybrid corn, seed corn, and got into other areas. So why is this important? Who cares about this? Well, it's important because Charlie and Mary Roberts, Mary, her father started the DeKalb Ag. So her family was instrumental in leadership in the ag. Ironically, this is kind of hard to explain, but Mary Roberts married a guy named Charlie Roberts. So she didn't have to change her name. Charlie was from Ohio, but came to Illinois to work for the ag, and they met. And so Charlie and Mary were both, their families were in leadership in the ag. And they did very well. You know, they were very successful as a for-profit company. So they donated $3.6 million of their own private money to start a community foundation in DeKalb County. So they are our founders. So very important to kind of recognize that we had a really strong start as an organization as well. So when we think about what the foundation is about as a whole and the different roles that we play in the community, it's first important to think about, like I said, our mission. So as a nonprofit organization and being mission driven, we need to be focused on what our purpose is. So our mission as a nonprofit organization, the DeKalb County Community Foundation, is to enhance the quality of life in DeKalb County by proactively addressing community needs and expanding, managing, and distributing philanthropic resources. That's kind of a long statement, but if you noticed, I didn't look at it when I stated that. I have it memorized. If I didn't have that mission statement memorized, there would be something really wrong, because I'm the director of this organization. We're a mission-driven organization, and I need to know very clearly, you know, what is our mission, what is our purpose, and how do we operate? Albert.
Did the Roberts come up with that, or did a board or something?
Nope, the board did. Yeah, Oliver asked if the Roberts family came up with the mission. So no, this is a mission statement that our board came up with. So first and foremost, it's important to know, why do we exist? What's our mission? The other way we try to help people understand what community foundations are about is to talk about these roles we play, the services we provide. So the first is endowments and donor services. So we specialize in managing charitable funds, endowed funds. I'll talk about endowment in a little bit if you've never heard of an endowment. So we specialize in managing endowment funds, and we serve donors to help them give to the things they care about. So again, remember that statement I made that people often give to the community through us. So they may give money to us that we manage, but we're distributing it back out into the community. And so we serve donors, helping to connect them to the things that they care about. Stewardship we define as caretaking. So if you're a steward of something, it means you're a caretaker. You're responsible for something, you're caring for something. So our stewardship role really has to do with our board, our volunteer board, and our staff who take care of that money that's been shared with us and all the resources we have that we're responsible for. So we're good stewards of that. Grant making is how we distribute dollars back into the community. So we have various grant programs in which we distribute money into the community through different organizations. And then finally is community initiatives. And those are things programs we have that go beyond just writing checks, just giving money out to the community. Things that we operate for the benefit of other purposes. So YEP is an example of one of our community initiatives. YEP is one of the programs we offer that you are a part of and that you're helping us operate for the benefit of the community. Okay, so endowments are perpetual funds where the majority of the value of a fund is protected. So you donate money, think of it like a bank account or like a savings account, or if you've heard of retirement accounts, people who put money away into a fund, into an account for the future. The difference is endowments, there's never a retirement. You don't retire and take all that money and spend it all. It's always there. So you're investing money in the marketplace in order to grow it over time and distribute money at the same time every year. So one way to think about a charitable fund or an endowment fund that we manage is think of it as like rooms in a house, rooms in a home. So the community foundation is like the home, and every fund we manage is like a room in a home. And when you think about your own home, you probably have more than one room in your home, and your rooms are different sizes and they fulfill a different purpose. So your kitchen does not serve the same function as your bathroom, hopefully. Your bedroom serves a different function, and they're all different sizes, right? So the funds or the accounts, you could think of them as like accounts at a bank. The funds we manage are like those rooms in a home, that we have various sizes and various purposes to the funds we manage. Another way to think about an endowment, and what does an endowment mean, is think of the goose that laid the golden egg. So you should know this story about poor farmer and a child looking for resources, and all of a sudden runs into this goose, learns that the goose lays golden eggs. And so when you think about that golden egg, that's like money that you can give to an organization as a resource to them. So if I donate like $100 to the Kishwaukee Symphony Orchestra, which is a nonprofit community orchestra in DeKalb County, if I donate $100 to them, that's like an egg. It's like a golden egg. Here's a gift every year. Well, the goose that keeps laying eggs over and over and over again is like an endowment. So if I set up an endowment at the community foundation that's managed at the foundation, that'll distribute that $100 egg every year. So the endowment is like a goose that lays a golden egg. It gives that golden egg every year. Okay? You got that mind picture? So one more image. Think about endowment. Sometimes just think about it as haircuts. You know, our hair grows, hopefully, and you get a haircut and it grows back. So that haircut is like making a distribution out of an endowment every year as a grant. And then the endowment keeps growing. You cut off more, give it out, keeps growing. So every year there's a cycle. So here's how endowments operate. Generally speaking, when we have a fund, an endowment, we distribute about 4% of the value of that fund every year. So when you think about how simple that is, and yet how powerful it can be, 4% doesn't sound like a lot, but 4% of $50 million is $2 million a year, every year. So the higher the fund goes, the more that 4% represents in terms of what's distributed to the community. So here's the power of philanthropy, and we're actually about 27 years old now. But here's what happened when the Roberts family started the Community Foundation back in 1993. By the end of that year, the value of the foundation was at about $4.1 million. There were 4 separate funds, 4 different rooms in the home, and they distributed about $150,000 total that year. So as of July of this year, we're managing almost $54 million in assets. We have over 380 different rooms in the home, different funds. So far, as of July, we've distributed over $2.5 million into DeKalb County in different organizations. And since our beginning, we've got a running total of about $34.5 million that we've distributed over that time. So that's what the Community Foundation does with the financial gifts that are shared with us, with the treasure that generous people contribute. So again, like I said, we have various, in our grant making, we have various kinds of funds that are used to distribute money into the community. And these are just different kinds of grant programs that we operate. But part of that 3 million, and I say 3 million because those numbers were as of July. So by the end of this year, we'll probably have given out more than $3 million this year. Part of that total is you. Your grant making, what you're going to do this year in this grant program, is part of that total. So you are going to be responsible for distributing in grants to nonprofits, to organizations, some of that money that's part of the whole organization. So in general, when we give out grants as an organization, our various grant programs, generally speaking, you could break those down into 6 different categories. So arts and culture, community development, environment and animal welfare, education, health and human services, nonprofit capacity building. So arts and culture, we give grants to the Kishwaukee Symphony Orchestra, like I said, to Egyptian Theater, to DeKalb County History Center. Community development often speaks to like some of the public service organizations, fire departments, volunteer fire departments, and sometimes police departments will give resources to. Environment and animal welfare, TAILS, Barna Baseline. Education, we give to public schools, school districts throughout the county. Health and human services, Hope Haven Homeless Shelter, Safe Passage Domestic Violence Shelter, Ben Gordon Center, the Counseling Center, Youth Service Bureau Counseling Center. So various kinds of organizations like that. And then nonprofit capacity building involves ways that we give resources to lots of nonprofits to help them keep their doors open and just operate as an organization. Yep.
If the Get members signed up for the mobile food pantry outreach event that's in the next upcoming weeks, what category would that fall under? A mobile food pantry?
I would say health and human services, would be fit under like a mobile food pantry. And the mobile food pantries are run either by DeKalb County Community Gardens, which you might have heard of, or the Northern Illinois Food Bank you might have heard of. Those are both nonprofit organizations that can receive grants. So because of COVID, we haven't had an opportunity to have an updated board photo this year, but generally speaking, we have about 18 board members at the Community Foundation that are volunteers that oversee the organization. So in terms of the hierarchy of a nonprofit, the group that's ultimately in charge, legally responsible for a nonprofit organization, is a board of directors. And most boards of directors are volunteers. They hire a director, an executive director, to be responsible to run the day-to-day operations of the organization. And then the director hires other staff to work as a team to run the organization. So the board sets policies, they set strategy, they oversee everything we do, they protect the organization, they help promote the organization, but the staff run all the day-to-day work that occurs. So our staff, we have 8 of us that work here at the DeKalb County Community Foundation. And many of these people, and of course Mark, and Noah are part of the staff here. So we have staff that operate and that are responsible for different programs and different aspects of what we do as a community foundation. Okay, so we've had this community foundation started in 1993, and somewhere along the way, we started hearing about these youth programs, youth philanthropy programs. And so it was around 2007 that our board decided, let's start one of these programs in DeKalb County. So why did the community foundation start YEP? Well, it was really several reasons. We wanted to encourage the lifelong practice of philanthropy. So we want you as participants to, first of all, learn about philanthropy, understand everyone can be a philanthropist, and there's lots of ways to practice philanthropy. And we'd like for you to be inspired so that no matter where you go and what you do in your life, you are a philanthropist and you practice philanthropy. To actively partner with high school students and youth in DeKalb County to tap into your energy and ideas, to encourage a long-term interest and support of this community foundation, as well as the community foundation field in general. Chances are, no matter where you live, where you go after high school, if you don't live in DeKalb County, chances are wherever you live, there's going to be a community foundation serving that area. So it's great for you to know what community foundations are all about. And like I was kind of saying before, many adults have never even heard of community foundations. You're already ahead of the game by understanding more about what this foundation is about than many adults are. And cultivating future board members and donors to the foundation. So if you go away to college maybe, or you stick around and work in the community and you're an adult, you could potentially come back and be one of those volunteer board members. You could be my boss, you know, helping run the organization as a board member. Being donors, you know, the alumni, you'll hear more about YEP alumni over time. YEP alumni often give money back to YEP and to the organization, so they serve as donors. You know those funds, the room in the house I talked about, the endowment fund? One of our YEP alumni from the first couple of years of YEP started a fund. We have a fund that she started as a donor, as an adult. So lots of great connections there in the tie-in. So remember, nonprofits, we're mission driven. So YEP as a program, you have a mission. This is your mission statement. So here's your challenge, is commit this to memory. Be aware of what is your mission as a program, as YEP. What's your mission all about? Why do you exist? What's your purpose? And yours is to improve the quality of life for youth in DeKalb County. So when you have a mission, it helps you to it helps to set straight the decisions you make, everything you do. So if you get a grant request later in the spring, later this year, to fund senior services, funding meals for senior citizens in DeKalb County, that's great. Nothing wrong with that. That's important. It's totally needed. But is that your mission as an organization? No. It doesn't really fit your mission. Now, what if youth were involved in helping serve those meals and deliver those meals and build a connection and be mentored by those seniors, and then it helps those youth to connect to the senior citizens in the community? Well, maybe that's a fit. You know, that is consistent with your mission, helping youth, the quality of life for youth in the community. So here's another important story to tell, I think, and part of your history as YEP, and that is Olin Fitz. Olin was he was a student at KEC, Kishwaukee Education Consortium, and he was in one of the first years of YEP when it first got started, and he was an artist. He loved to draw, so he created your logo, which is just a super cool thing to have happen, you know, to have YEP, have the youth come together to be in this program, and then one of the youth in the program actually created your own logo. So it wasn't like we sat around and came up with something, or we hired a graphic designer. He came up with that himself. So that's where your logo came from. So when you think about you know, that $3 million number, you know, don't get overwhelmed by that or intimidated by that. And that can be it's a big number, but every dollar counts that's part of that number. And the work you do running your own grant program this year, and you're going to give YEP grants to nonprofit organizations in the community, you follow a very similar process that we do. So our community foundation board, we have one of our most popular grant programs is called Community Needs Grants. And so we have guidelines and an application for that, just like you do. We have a committee that reviews applications that are submitted, just like you do. You're going to conduct site visits, depending on COVID, maybe virtually. When you get organizations apply for funding from you in the spring, you're going to have meetings with them to talk about the project and talk about why they're asking for money and what kind of an organization they are, and are they going to take care, are they going to be a good steward of your grant, things like that. So our board, we don't even do that consistently. We do that occasionally, but not for every request we get. So that's one thing that you do better. Allocation meetings. We have a allocation meeting is the meeting where you sit down, you've done all your research, you've researched all these grant applications, and then you decide, okay, who are we going to give money to and how much? Because you will be requested for more money than you have available to give. So you have to make some tough decisions about what you want to support. What fits your mission? What seems like a reasonable project? How do you want to distribute the money that you're responsible for? So that budget that the Community Needs Grant Committee has is about $325,000 a year. They spend 3 hours figuring out how to spend $325,000, and you're going to spend about the same amount of time spending 12. And I think that's great because YEP has always been very cautious and deliberate, very responsible with the decisions it makes about the money that's entrusted to you. So when you think about grant making, you think, oh, I got money, that's easy, I'll just give money away. Anybody can come and ask for money and we'll give it to them. But again, you'll find out you won't have enough money to give to all the requests you get. So how do you make those decisions? So it's not as easy as you might think. There's a lot of complexity in the various factors you look at to help you to decide whether you want to give a grant to an organization or not. So you'll learn more about this as you go along and start talking about your grant making. So how is YEP possible? You know, the Community Foundation, like I said, the board wanted to get the program started and wanted to operate, wanted to engage youth in this way, and all those purposes we talked about. But we didn't really have any money to run the program or to allow you to do your grant making. So quite ironically, around the same time that we were starting to plan YEP and pull together the details, we received an estate gift from a woman who passed away. So a benefactor is often a term used to describe a person who helps people or organizations, usually financially. So if I'm a donor to an organization, you could also call me a benefactor. I give money to an organization. So our original benefactor is a woman named Helen Bozovich. Helen was a professor at NIU in mathematical statistics, super smart lady, for over 30 years. She retired in 1986. She played piano. She was a well-rounded person. Got a bachelor's degree of science and music from the University of Minnesota, pretty cool. Got her doctorate from Iowa State University. So she passed away in August of 2008 at age 92. She left an estate gift to the Community Foundation, part of her money from her estate that she accumulated during her life, she gave to the Community Foundation, and our board used $175,000 of it. It was actually more than that. Used $175,000 of her gift to start a fund, a room in the house, for YEP, for you to use for your grants. So this fund called the DeKalb County Youth Grantmakers Fund is an endowment that Helen helped us to establish with her gift. So her philanthropy, her gift to the Community Foundation will benefit YEP and benefit youth in DeKalb County forever, right? As long as people are living in DeKalb County, it's an endowment. So forever. So powerful and important to be able to recognize people who give in that way. So here's your fund. Here's your endowment fund, the DeKalb County Youth Grantmakers Fund. It was 193rd fund that was started at the Community Foundation. Remember I said we've got about 385 right now. It was 193rd fund started in 2008. We've received $239,169 in contributions since the start of the fund, including Helen's original gift. Remember that 4% every year, distribution every year. So since 2008, YEP has distributed $145,253 in grants in DeKalb County. So you have this fund that's started at started at 175,000. It's almost given out that much in grants since it started. Because it's invested in the stock market and the goal is to grow it, look at the balance of the fund as of today. $328,699.06. So this is the power of endowment, where contributions come in, distributions go out, but you still have a high balance in a fund that continues to grow over time in the marketplace. So your estimated payout, what we call a payout, that 4%, the haircut, that payout for 2021 will be around $12,000. So that's what you will have to work with to give your grants to organizations in the community, okay? Everybody following this? I know I'm just kind of rolling along. Go ahead, Drew.
So are all endowments 4%, or is it just the community funding?
Yeah, good question. So are all endowments distribute 4%? Yes, we calculate, our board decides every year, what's that percentage gonna be? And so if it's 4%, then that applies to every fund. Yep. Okay, so remember I talked about the roles of the Community Foundation: endowments and donor services, stewardship, grant making, community initiatives. Again, remember stewardship we define as caretaking, careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care. So what responsibilities do we have as grant makers? Who are you responsible to? Just shout it out, or somebody put it in the chat if you want online. Who are you responsible to in your role as a YEP participant and in grant making? Youth? Okay, yep. So your mission is to support quality of life for youth in DeKalb County, right? Then you're responsible to make good decisions that'll benefit youth, right? That'll help. Okay, what else?
Remember our meeting on to answer questions.
There you go. So who else are you responsible to or for? Think about that idea of the definition of stewardship and benefactors. All right, so youth we help in grants and people who donated the money. So the people who donated, so we're responsible to Helen, right? We have a certain responsibility to honor Helen's gift because she entrusted that money to you to be able to make good decisions about how you spend those dollars. So we have this thing we call a $100 challenge. And it's an opportunity to really try to bring to light what it means to be responsible to someone else for something that's been entrusted to them, and being responsible to a donor with money. Because, you know, Helen passed away, she's not here. So I can show her picture, I can tell her story and tell you what kind of a person she was, and I can tell you about the money she gave to the Community Foundation to start YEP. But she's not really here. It's kind of like, oh, that's nice. just show us the $12,000, right? We'll give it out. So when you have a donor in front of you, when you have somebody a live person who gives you a gift, that's a more powerful opportunity to understand what being a steward is about, what stewardship is about. So in this $100 challenge, I am your donor. I am the donor to give a $100 gift. So this is $100 of my personal money. This is not the community foundation's money. This is my personal money. And I'm going to give it to one of you tonight. It's $100 cash in here. I'm going to give it to one of you tonight. The gift that I'm giving you, I want the person I give it to give it away, to grant it, to give it out. So the gift can be used to give to any charitable purpose that benefits a nonprofit organization, a church, or it could be a community organization. I'm the donor, so I'm kind of setting the rules. I'm saying like what I'm okay with and what I'm not okay with for how you give away that $100. So it could be a community organization like a library or school or police or fire department. From my point of view, you could give it to a person or a family in need also. So what you can't do is buy something for yourself. Remember, this is philanthropy, helping others. I don't want you to give it to a for-profit business, so don't go down and spring for Culver's for everybody when you leave. And no gambling, which you shouldn't be able to do anyway at your age. And no political donations. So not giving it to any political campaigns. So the person I give this to, the $100, these are the rules that they have for how to give away that $100. And they have a deadline of Friday, November 6th to give the deadline. And then they're gonna fill out a little form explaining like what they did, how they came up with that, what that looked like. And then in the next meeting, in the next Thursday meeting, November 12th, I'll talk to that person who gave the money away and find out who they gave it to, why they did it, what decisions, how did they go through making that decision, and who did they ultimately give it to. So the person I've chosen to give my $100 to for the $100 challenge is Maddie Voorhees, who's from DeKalb High School. She's one of our online participants. Is she still on? All right. So I can't see Maddie
Yes, I'm right here.
now, but if Maddie is on and can turn her camera on, are we gonna?
I think we just heard it, actually.
Okay.
Can you see me?
There we go. There's Maddie. Whoops. Sorry, didn't mean to chat. Hi, Maddie.
Hello.
I'm Dan.
Hi.
So, did you follow all that?
Yep.
Awesome. So, I'm going to give you, so we've got an envelope here for you
Okay.
with $100 cash. And so we'll ask you again, and I've got that printout of that slide so you don't have to memorize or remember all that. So I trust you with my personal money I want you to support things that you care about or that are important to you. So you don't have to think about, well, what would I want to give money to? I want you to use that money to support organizations or even people in need that you think there's a need for, okay?
Okay.
So you up for that?
Yep. Sounds great.
Awesome, thank you, appreciate that. Okay, so that's a $100 challenge. So I'm gonna wrap up here, and I wanna leave you with another concept. So think about passion. Think about things, about people that are passionate about something. Not talking about romantic passion here, talking about being passionate about something that's important. So I read an article once that really struck me. I thought it was really fascinating. And it was this equation to define passion. How do you understand where passion comes from? And it talked about this idea of curiosity plus engagement times time equals passion. So the point of this is that the things that we're passionate about don't just happen spontaneously. We bring about, we learn the things that we're passionate about by being curious, by being willing to learn, by being engaged, paying attention, being interested in something, and spending time doing it. So when you think about the things that you're passionate about, the things that you care about, I'll pick on Drew again a little more. So he plays the oboe. I'm guessing that Drew has spent a lot of time practicing the oboe. And he spent a lot of time learning from others, like what's a good technique, what's the best way to play. Your embouchure, right? Got that word down. So you were curious at some point, sometime in 4th grade or whatever, you thought, oh, an oboe, that's kind of an interesting instrument. I think I'll learn about that. You took lessons, you spent hours and hours and hours, and it's something I think you enjoy doing, you're passionate about it, right? So when you think about this in your own life experience, you know, you'll find this to be true. The things that you care about, you're passionate about, are the things you spend time doing, you pay attention, and you're curious, and you want to keep learning. So when you think about curiosity without engagement, that's like, oh, I just wonder about things. You know, I wonder how things work or whatever, but I'm not really going to spend any time learning about it. If you're engaged with something without being curious, then it's sort of this superficial, like I'll engage with you, but I really don't care who you are or what you're about. So I'll act like I'm engaged, but I'm really not that curious. You ever talk to people like that? Like you can pick up pretty quickly that they're not that interested. If you're engaged in something, but you don't spend time really doing it, it's really like a passing fad. Like, oh, that's kind of neat. I'll, you know, learn that thing for now. But then I'm not really going to spend any time diving into it. And so it's probably just going to fade away. So ask yourself, what are you curious about? Do you reach out and engage? Are you devoting enough time to it? You know, is the reverse true? That the things that you know that you don't care about, you know, it fits this equation. And I talk about being the total package because being a person who cares about things, like you can have all the book smarts in the world, you could get, you know, the grades you need, you can pass classes, you can get your high school diploma, you can get a college diploma, you can have a job, and you can know all these things that you need to do. But if you're the total package, you're also a person who's just fully engaged with life, who has passion for the things that you care about. So I encourage you, regardless of your career, your profession, think about making philanthropy a passion. Commit yourself to YEP to be something you can be passionate about this year. Take the time, be curious, be open to learning, get engaged, participate in the meetings, and hopefully that'll develop in you even more of a passion to help others, to give back to the community, and to commit yourself to be a philanthropist throughout your life. So remember also, in light of that, is being a good steward. Some people get really hung up and get their egos really built up because they can give money away. But if you just get all hung up on thinking how cool I am or how important I am because I give away money, you're missing the point of stewardship. So there's a humility there. There's a responsibility we have as stewards of the things that have been entrusted to us to be sure that we're good caretakers. So ultimately, that's where our values need to come into play as well. So if you even get email or bother with email in your personal life, we do have an e-newsletter called What Gives that you can sign up for on our website if you're interested in what the Community Foundation as a whole is all about and the various things that we're a part of. So that's it for me. Thank you again for being a part of YEP. I know for the sake of time, we'll kind of move things on. If you have questions about the stuff I talked about, feel free to ask me, ask Noah or Mark. They know all this stuff as well. So thanks again for being a part of YEP. And I look forward to seeing you around in some of the meetings in the weeks ahead. Okay.
For our outreach events, our My Pantry #1 has been full, so we need no more volunteers for next week. So if you can, please sign up for October 29th and November still do need volunteers for those. And also, our altruistic spelling bee has been canceled this year, which we won last year. You can see we got a big old trophy over here. So technically, by default, we did win this year, so now we are back-to-back champs. Hopefully, we'll have that event again next year.
All right, so that's pretty much all we have for today, except we do have t-shirts in the back, as well as these really cool Yep masks. So you're getting 3 really cool pieces of Yep gear today. And remember, next meeting is Thursday, November 12th from 6:30 to 8. So if you need to do that right now, so don't forget to put that in your phone calendar or whatever you need to do to remember that. And of course, if you're up on their mind, you'll get a text like you did, hopefully, to remind you of the meeting that's going down so you don't miss it. But yeah, as you guys are going out, make sure you take the candy, of course, and you can go grab your t-shirt. So thanks everyone for coming, and hope to see you next time. Make sure you sign up for an outreach event.